to understand, and this gets back to the Bergman thing, to understand why something is great is greater than making great. Because we've seen in many arts, and I've shown this in many essays, dart tossing. If I've got 1,000 darts and I'm blind and drunk and I'm throwing boom, boom, and I all 1,000, there's maybe a 1 in 2, 1 in 3 chance that maybe one of those darts is going to be an actual bullseye. That doesn't mean it's replicable. One of the greatest things I've ever done is shown how art, you can repeatedly get a consistency of near greatness or greatness by following certain techniques. If you have the talent and you persevere. Without doing either of those things, there's no formula. But and when I say that you can get it repeatedly, I'm not advocating doing a formula. But when you're looking at something, if you're doing something, you parallax something narratively. In the poetry itself poem, there is the feeling beside that which is felt. Right there, that first line, you've got something that is it disturbs your natural thinking. There's the feeling beside that which is felt. So there's feeling, and then there's feeling that's beside it, something aside it, as if a great artwork beyond consciousness, something that's maybe in the unconscious, whether gazing at church tower, and then it ends. And then this, the love of a life of it, so strangely itself like you, I know nothing of you. So we're going from the sort of haze to the more specific, then as if newly formed and felt unexpectedly, period. And it isn't an ellipsis, it's an implied ellipsis, but it is, I didn't make it an ellipsis for a reason, because unexpectedly is the most important word in that poem. It's got its own. I
did not mean ellipsis in a literal sense.
Yeah.
It just kind of ends.
I felt unexpectedly.
It doesn't necessarily go.
And you put on the edge unexpectedly what? And you're right. Even most great poets, Rilke, for example, his greatest poems, whether it's about swans or it's about the tiger or the panther or it's about some of the sonnets to Orpheus, you get sort of, if you were to make films of Rilke poems, there would be a mist, and then something would congeal out of the mist, and it would come, and it would do something, and it would do something a little bit off, a little bit unexpectedly, and then it would sort of dissolve back into the mist, and that's sort of the Rilke formula in a sense. And I'm being a little unfair because he didn't do that in all of his great poems, but that's sort of the Rilke trope. Whitman has those kinds of tropes.
Well, there's also the fact in his long extended poems, which are a little more complex than that, like Dino elegies, they may not just come out of the mist and then reformulate after it, but they have the same basic idea, and it's kind of, he'll have ugly images in there like death and everything. He'll make it beautiful in a way. That is the Rilke trademark, and it's something that he does over and again. And he really had very little diversity, though, to the arc of his development.
Someone like Yeats also.
He's kind of like Pablo Neruda, though, in that he's a Jekyll and Hyde kind of poet.
Yeah, well, his early
he could write absolutely horrid poems, and then he could write masterful, long extended philosophic poems.
Yeah, his early poems were pretty much crap.
Well, even after that, he was very hit and miss, just like Neruda was. But Neruda is more, you can take his love poems here, and then you can take his political shit there. Yeats was up and down no matter what the subject was.
Yeah, and that gets back to the thing about recognizing it. These guys probably didn't recognize the constituent elements that went into making that poem great. And this is why it's important to be a critic. This is why it's important to read other people. And this is why it's important to recognize what makes a poem great or what makes any artwork great, so that you can see the elements. Maybe the thing that makes something great isn't the technical stuff, but the way something is framed against something else. Not literally framed, but you may have, say, in some of the great Hudson River School painters, you may have a volcano in the background miles away, and then in the foreground you see a little man and his donkey, and maybe he's feeding him a carrot or something, doing some little diurnal task to get along. Meanwhile, the earth is bellowing far away. So you get that contrast, and that's what makes a painting like that great.